As the man listened to the girl muttering about their future and their son and he felt her tangible warmth, his breathing turned heavy and he peered down, fiercely kissing her on the lips. When Yuanwan felt the abrupt fiery heat on her lips, she blinked, surprised. So passionate today. Isn't he a bit overly passionate? It really caught me off guard. I originally intended to chat a bit and warm things up. The man's hand lay over her smooth skin, and he uncontrollably pressed her body against his. Yuanwan sharply detected the concealed unease in his emotions and reflexively ran her fingers through his hair. Si Yihan's spine stiffened abruptly, and he froze. Yuanwan gently kissed Si Yihan on the chin. "Baby, what is it? Did something happen?" Si Yihan stayed silent for a long time before finally asking, "Wanwan, have you really thought it through?" Ever since he learned about Tangtang's background, an intense sense that things were surreal kept haunting him these past few days. He felt like he was being suspended in the air. Yuanwan was bewildered. "Thought through what?" "Being together with me." Yuanwan rolled her eyes. "Rubbish. Of course I have. Does that require thinking?" Si Yihan pinched the spot between his brows and dejectedly got up. He silently sat on the edge of the bed, an unshakable gloominess plaguing his features. A moment later, the man blankly stared at some point in the air, his eyes unfocused as he hoarsely said, "The person in your heart is a pure and fine gentleman revered by people, and I'm merely an evil dragon." "Nonsense." Yuanwan's expression changed the second she heard Si Yihan describe himself like that. From her hypnosis sessions and the memories and fragmented pieces she recovered, she'd remembered Si Yihan's past, so she knew that Si Yihan absolutely wasn't the kind of person he was referring to. His intrinsic nature was more kind-hearted than everyone, purer than everyone. It was just. He was entangled with the evil dragon for too long and became the evil dragon himself. He stared at the abyss for too long, and the abyss reflected back. In this world, there wasn't another living creature who could defeat an evil dragon aside from another evil dragon. He might have defeated the evil dragon, but he became the kind of person he loathed the most. Si Yihan said, "Wanwan, you don't need to lie to yourself. There's no one who knows me better than I know myself." What he was most afraid of wasn't losing her. It was that she would regret it eventually one day. Yuanwan solemnly stared at Si Yihan. "Ji Shuran is wonderful. He's pure and fine, he's revered by everyone, and he's loved and respected by everyone, including my previous self." With every word he heard, his eyes dimmed a degree. Yuanwan continued, "And you're an evil dragon, the great devil in everyone's eyes. Everyone is afraid of you, fears you, but so what? In front of me, you always retract your pointy claws and sharp fangs. You're always so gentle and kind-hearted. To me, you're the best person. You." Every word and sentence that came from her caused intense emotion to billow in her eyes. Si Yihan's originally fractured and collapsed world started to rebuild itself simply because of her simple words. Every time Yuanwan called him gentle and kind-hearted, he actually fiercely detested himself inwardly. However, he never expected her to actually say that. Yuanwan grumpily muttered, "So I won't allow you to belittle yourself. You don't need to compare yourself to anyone. You are you. Moreover, my reputation isn't any better than yours, alright? We clearly both the same, so I seriously don't understand where your worries are coming from. When will you finally correct your bad habit of producing vinegar for no reason and drowning yourself every day?" As Yuanwan said that, she sighed and propped her chin on her hand, staring at the man before her. Her lips curled up as she waved her hand. Forget it, forget it. You don't need to correct it. I also really like seeing you get jealous." Si Yihan surveyed Yuanwan and looked like he wanted to say something but ended up not saying anything. "Do you still remember the island I mentioned to you last time?" A moment later, Si Yihan asked her. Yuanwan was briefly startled. The island he mentioned last time? Yuanwan tilted her head and fell into contemplation. I do. Yuanwan suddenly remembered the guarded island that Si Yihan mentioned. The famous leaders who went missing from the independent state recently might be imprisoned on that island. Azura rigorously investigated it these past few days, Si Yihan said. Yi Wanwan became interested at once. And then? Ji Shuran and the other people had been gone for a long time, so the faster they found them, the better. Otherwise, every day would add many uncertain factors, and their situation would be more perilous. There are quite a number of people guarding the boundaries of the island, so unless we forcefully attack the island, it'd be difficult to investigate it thoroughly, Si Yihan said. He originally planned to thoroughly investigate this matter before considering whether he wanted to let Yi Wanwan know. However, Yi Wanwan had a right to know about this matter, not only because of the promise she made back then but also because that man might also be on that island. That many people. Even Azura can't approach it. Yi Wanwan blinked. Si Yihan expressionlessly replied, a lot. It wasn't that Azura couldn't approach it, but once they did, the group guarding the island would discover them. Currently, the situation on the island and whether those missing people were imprisoned there or not was unknown. If that heavily guarded island really served as a prison for those missing people and they rashly approached it, they wouldn't only be unable to save the prisoners but would also alert the enemies. Furthermore, they would endanger those prisoners. Si Yihan imperceptibly glanced at Yi Wanwan. If Ji Shuran wasn't on that island, perhaps he wouldn't care about the other people's safety. However, Ji Shuran might be imprisoned on that island. Si Yihan didn't want to push Ji Shuran into a more disadvantageous position because of him. Then what should we do? Yi Wanwan was lost in her contemplation, her brows furrowing. Si Yihan stared at Yi Wanwan for a while before calmly saying, don't get involved with this matter, I'll handle it. Yi Wanwan's gaze landed on Si Yihan. How do you plan to handle it? Yi Wanwan didn't want Si Yihan to encounter any danger because of this matter. If he would, she would prefer to handle it herself. Wanwan. Si Yihan intently looked at Yi Wanwan. If Ji Shuran is still alive, I will rescue him. Of course, the condition being that the person must be alive since only living people could be rescued. Si Yihan couldn't be certain or guarantee whether those missing people were alive or dead right now. Yi Wanwan became lost in her thoughts again. It was true that Ji Shuran once hypnotized her and personally destroyed all of her past memories related to him. Although Yi Wanwan didn't know why Ji Shuran did that, there was one thing she knew. From start to end, Ji Shuran had never harmed her. Since the moment she came to the independent state, the assistance Ji Shuran provided her was truly too immense. Please visit on our list novel. Calm. If it wasn't for Ji Shuran, perhaps she wouldn't be able to move a single step in the independent state. From the deepest parts of her heart, Yi Wanwan couldn't accept the possibility of Ji Shuran being murdered. To Yi Wanwan, Ji Shuran was too mysterious. His entire being was akin to a dense fog inside primal chaos, and people couldn't see through him or speculate his thoughts, so how could something bad happen to a person like that? Before Yi Wanwan could say anything to Si Yihan, someone reported outside the door, President. I don't mean to disturb you, but Lord Nameless Nye is here, Lord. Nameless Nye. Yi Wanwan was startled. When did Nameless Nye become a lord? President, your brother, Nameless Nye, made us call him Lord. We couldn't do anything about it. The Fearless Alliance member outside the door sounded exasperated. Sister, I'm coming in. Nameless Nye's voice came from outside the door and the door was opened a second later. Brother-in-law, are you busy? Nameless Nye strode inside, first glancing at Yi Wanwan before assessing Si Yihan. This question was asked rather skillfully. I'll talk to you later. I still have business to take care of, Si Yihan said to Yi Wanwan as he slowly stood up. Okay. Yi Wanwan nodded. Seeing Si Yihan leaving, Nameless Nye hastily said, Brother-in-law, 1. This variation here means younger sister's husband. Why are you leaving so quickly after seeing me, your elder sister's husband? Let's have dinner together tonight. What freaking elder sister's husband? When Nameless Nye said that, Si Yihan was already far away. Speak. Yi Wanwan impatiently looked at Nameless Nye. Nothing good happened every time this idiot came here. Sister, do you still remember how you wanted to find those missing people? Nameless Nya asked. Then? Yi Wanwan glanced at Nameless Nya. So what if I remember? Don't tell me Nameless Nya can lend me a hand. That's obviously impossible, right? I'm telling you. Nameless Nya cautiously looked around him and lowered his voice. I found that place. You found their imprisoned location? Yi Wanwan looked astonished. No way, right? Rubbish, of course I found it. Otherwise, why would I urgently disturb you and brother-in-law like this? Hee hee. Nameless Nya had an exaggerated expression on his face. What did that hee hee mean, huh? Where is it? Yi Wanwan hastily asked. It's on an island not too far from the independent state. I have the coordinates too, but it's heavily guarded on all sides, Nameless Nya replied. Yi Wanwan turned contemplative. The island Nameless Nya was speaking of should be the same place as the island Audio mentioned. How did you discover it? Yi Wanwan curiously looked at him. I didn't discover it. Nameless Nya smiled. I discovered it while I was secretly tailing brother-in-law before. Yi Wanwan glanced at Nameless Nya, rendered speechless. When did she ask him to tail Audio? Sister, I'm not bragging, but it'd be impossible if those people from Azura wanted to sneak onto the island unnoticed by themselves, Nameless Nya continued when he was met with a lack of response from Yi Wanwan. But you can sneak onto the island unnoticed? Yi Wanwan shot him a look. Nameless Nya shook his head immediately. Of course not. The island is sealed on all sides and there are too many people guarding it. Even if the Heavenly King himself came, it'd be impossible unless he knew how to turn invisible. Then, what use was there in telling me all this? Yi Wanwan felt her head swell. When her parents gave birth to her brother and her, they should have allocated some intelligence to him too. They were too impartial. There is a method. Nameless Nya was pensive for a moment before looking at Yi Wanwan. It's completely unrealistic to forcefully attack the island and enter, but there's another method. Hurry and spill, Yi Wanwan said. What's the hurry? I'm combing through it for you. Don't you know the saying, more haste less speed? Nameless Nya rolled his eyes at her before secretively saying, it's actually very simple if you want to enter the island. Your mind's gotta be flexible, and you've gotta be smart. In truth, can't you enter the island if you intentionally get captured by them? Yi Wanwan nearly spat out a mouthful of blood. This was her real brother's supposed, mind's gotta be flexible. Intentionally getting captured, what a fantastic imagination. She wanted to say something but on second thought, if she carefully mulled over Nameless Nya's words, there was some substance there. If a person discussed it with someone on the outside beforehand, they might be able to collaborate from within with forces from the outside and dismantle the place in one swoop. Ah, sister, what do you think? Isn't your brother's brain nimble? Nameless Nya asked Yi Wanwan. Amen. So. Yi Wanwan nodded. It's like this, I think those people will definitely capture me based on my fame in the independent state. At that time, I'll summon a group of capable mercenaries and pretend to lose and get captured onto the island. This matter is too dangerous, so you're definitely unsuitable. Your brother, I, will do it. How about it? Nameless Nya quietly explained. Yi Wanwan was briefly startled. She never expected her brother to be rather heartwarming at a time like this. In reality, the Nameless Nya in her memory did treat her rather well and cherish her profoundly. Although she was raised by her grandpa since she was young and didn't spend a lot of time with Nameless Nya once gave her an immense feeling of safety in her handful of memories, unlike the present time. Yi Wanwan never expected Nameless Nya would ask to take responsibility for such a risky undercover assignment of his own will. Truthfully, Nameless Nya could feign ignorance and stay out of this matter since it wasn't related to him at all. It's still too dangerous. Yi Wanwan shook her head in the end after some deliberation. Nameless Nya didn't want her to take the risk, but she also didn't want him to take to risk. They were real siblings, and blood was thicker than water. It's fine. Your group and Azura's group can wait outside, and I'll infiltrate the place. When the opportunity is appropriate, I will light a fire on the island. When you see the smoke, you can act, and I can collaborate from within with your forces on the outside. We can dismantle that island then, Nameless Nye said. Then, what if there isn't fire? Yi Wanwan asked. How's that possible? Your brother, I, can start a fire from rocks. Nameless Nye countered. Then what if there aren't rocks? Oh, then you and brother-in-law can consider collecting my corpse for me. Remember to burn a few beautiful maids for me. Yi Wanwan, it had to be said that Nameless Nye's plan did have some merits but required lengthy deliberation since no one knew the current situation inside the island. They were at a complete disadvantage. Please visit on our list novel. Let me think about it first. Even if we're going to execute it, it requires a detailed plan and we can't make the slightest mistake, Yi Wanwan calmly said to Nameless Nye. Before he could respond, Yi Wanwan added, moreover. Brother, I think that even if those people were going to abduct someone, they would abduct me, the president of the Fearless Alliance, first. They probably wouldn't capture you, no? She was at least President Fearless while Nameless Nye was, a mere rich boy from the Nye family who only knew how to earn money? Nameless Nye might be overly confident. If Yi Wanwan had to choose based solely on fame and power, she would capture herself and absolutely wouldn't touch Nameless Nye. Nameless Nye, EY, you're looking down on me. Are you my real sister? Nameless Nye glanced at Yi Wanwan. Goodbye. Brother, hold on, Yi Wanwan called out. Nameless Nye paused in his tracks and gave Yi Wanwan a confused look. Be more careful for the next while. Worry surged up inside Yi Wanwan's heart as she looked at Nameless Nye. From Third Elder's tracking adventure with Nye Linglong, Yi Wanwan learned entirely of the conversation between Nye Linglong and that mysterious man. The people from the direct line might be preparing to eliminate Nameless Nye. Nameless Nye might have a reliable character but his strength was supposedly extremely strong. Yi Wanwan didn't know how strong the direct line was and whether Nameless Nye could really handle them if something did happen. Just that. Nameless Nye was dumbfounded. What else? Yi Wanwan sighed. Did he take my words to heart at all? Aren't you underestimating me too much? Nameless Nye scoffed. Someone who can reap my life hasn't been born in this world yet. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, but all of you are garbage. Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. This fool. I told him to be careful and he called me garbage. After saying that, Nameless Nye gallantly marched out of the office, his back ramrod straight, not giving Yi Wanwan the opportunity to insult him back. That day, after Yi Wanwan took care of trivial tasks, she ordered Big Dipper and 7 Star and a group of experts from the Fearless Alliance to stand guard around her suburban mansion. Nameless Nye's words today reminded Yi Wanwan. As the president of the Fearless Alliance, she had a great probability of becoming the target of those masterminds, so she couldn't go wrong by taking precautions beforehand and ordering people to stand guard around her. In the pitch-black night, near Yi Wanwan's mansion, Big Dipper stuck his hands into his pant pockets and turned to 7 Star, who was next to him. Say, old 7, don't you think Sis Fong is being overly cautious and vigilant? Our Fearless Alliance's notoriety spreads far across the independent state. We're like the stinky rocks in a pit of feces, so if those people wanted to capture someone, they'd definitely abduct people like Emperor Ji or the leaders of the 4 great clans. Why would they consider us seriously? If they really abducted our president, the independent state would definitely sing them praises for eliminating an evil. Old 7, don't you think I'm right? 7 Star stared at Big Dipper and wanted to say something after a brief silence but ended up unable to utter a word. A long while later, 7 Star finally responded, I don't know how to reply to you after you compared yourself to a rock in a pit of feces. TCH, what did Sis Fong teach us? She told us to always clearly see ourselves and to not be blindly arrogant and to not forget our roots. Old 7, I'm not lecturing you, but I've already recognized myself for who I am while you haven't. You still have a long road ahead of you. Take care, Big Dipper said, sounding like an experienced person. 7-star. At the same time, inside her bedroom in the mansion, Yuan Wan was on a video call with Tang Tang. Baby, did you miss mommy? As Yuan Wan looked at Tang Tang's adorable little face, she wished nothing more than to dash through the screen to him. I miss mommy. Tang Tang nodded and added, Daddy also misses you. Yuan Wan, this little fella looks like he's getting along with Si Yihan rather well. Yuan Wan didn't expect him to know to speak good words on his dad's behalf. Where's your daddy? Yuan Wan asked. In the kitchen, making dinner. Tang Tang turned the camera toward the kitchen. Yuan Wan saw Si Yihan wearing an apron and intently reading the cookbook he was holding. Can this be considered cramming at the last minute? Please visit our list novel. Are you used to your daddy's cooking yet? Yuan Wan originally wanted to ask if it tasted bad but switched her phrasing in the end. Better than before, Tang Tang replied. It tasted bad before. Then what about daddy's cooking now? Yuan Wan asked with a smile. Edible, Tang Tang answered after a moment of consideration. Edible does seem slightly better than tasting bad. Nothing's wrong with that. Mommy, there's a lot of women here. Tang Tang's next words caught Yuan Wan off guard. Huh? Yuan Wan was startled. A lot of women? I meant, they're all Mumu's subordinates. Tang Tang nodded. Mumu's subordinates? Yuan Wan was dumbfounded. Who's Mumu? Lin 1K, Tang Tang replied. Yuan Wan, this is my first time seeing someone break apart another person's surname and calling them like that. Mommy, they all want to become familiar with Daddy, Tang Tang continued. Oh. What did your daddy do? Yuan Wan glared at the clueless Si Yihan, who was still reading his cookbook. I drove them all away. They don't have any opportunities to approach Daddy, so don't worry, Mommy, Tang Tang replied. At the sight of Tang Tang's serious appearance, Yuan Wan couldn't help the deep smile from spreading across her face. This was indeed her biological son and precious darling. Baby, nice job. You're really Mommy's considerate sweetheart, Yuan Wan happily praised him. After her video call with Tang Tang ended, she casually flipped through some magazines for a while before turning off the lights to sleep. Several hours later, Yuan Wan still hadn't fallen asleep. Her memories from her youth kept surfacing in her mind. However, those missing and blurry memories caused Yuan Wan some pain. The more she tried to recall them, the more painful her head got, as though she'd fallen in a blank state. Finally, in the middle of the night, Yuan Wan finally turned sleepy, but a quiet squeaking noise was heard from downstairs. The noise wasn't loud at all. It was extremely quiet, as though someone was intentionally controlling the volume, but Yuan Wan still caught it in this absolutely silent night. Instantly, Yuan Wan's sleepiness vanished. She became wide awake and carefully listened to the noises below. Is it my imagination, or is there really an unusual sound? Did someone break into my house? Yuan Wan's expression was surprised and incredulous. She previously instructed Big Dipper, 7-star, and the others to stand on guard around the mansion and pay careful attention at all times. Were all of those people this freaking unreliable and remained ignorant to someone breaking into her house? However, Yuan Wan couldn't be certain, so she could only continue to observe. However, a few seconds later, extremely soft footsteps could be heard from downstairs, as though a cat was walking. If one didn't listen carefully, one wouldn't detect it at all. Could it be a cat? Yuan Wan frowned deeply. These footsteps were truly too quiet, so it had to be an expert if it wasn't a stray animal accidentally entering the house. However, she was certain she securely locked all the doors and windows before sleeping, so how could a stray animal have gotten in? Within moments, Yuan Wan could ascertain that it absolutely wasn't a stray animal and was a person, an expert at that. The sound of the footsteps got closer and closer, and Yuan Wan could tell the owner of the footsteps had gone upstairs and already entered a few of the rooms upstairs, as though they were searching for something. Yu Wanwan immediately grabbed her phone and sent a text message to Big Dipper. Someone's here. What Yu Wanwan couldn't believe was that this idiot, Big Dipper, not only didn't understand her meaning but he also called her. Yu Wanwan didn't switch her phone to silent, so her ringtone started playing at once. Yu Wanwan also reacted extremely fast and instantly hung up Big Dipper's call. However, the footsteps suddenly switched directions and slowly treaded toward Yu Wanwan's bedroom. Ding! Big Dipper texted her. Big Dipper, sis phone, why did you hang up on me? What did you mean by, someone's here? Did you send it to the wrong person? Damn, sis phone, are you cultivating this late at night? Why aren't you asleep yet? How about we come over and chat with you and eat a late night snack or something? Fuck me. Yu Wanwan wanted to cry after reading Big Dipper's text. Who freaking gave her the courage to think Big Dipper would actually understanding the meaning of her text? Why didn't she send it to 7-star? Why the heck did she text Big Dipper? Freaking, someone's broken into my house, you idiot. Yu Wanwan's finger rapidly darted across the screen and sent the message in the shortest amount of time and also turned her phone to silent mode. Thankfully, Big Dipper didn't keep responding to her texts, perhaps finally understanding her meaning this time. At that moment, the extremely light footsteps had stopped in front of Yu Wanwan's bedroom. The person slowly twisted the handle but couldn't open the door. Before sleeping, Yu Wanwan had specifically locked her bedroom door. The person outside the door didn't seem to want to disturb Yu Wanwan, so they didn't violently break the door open. Yu Wanwan's brows locked together. Could it be the group that abducted Ji Shuran? If it was, this might be a little tricky. If even someone like Ji Shuran could be easily abducted, she would be a piece of cake. Hopefully, she would be able to fend them off until Big Dipper, 7-star, and the other members arrived. There was strength in power. On this quiet night, an unknown amount of time passed before the door to Yu Wanwan's bedroom was slowly opened with a squeak. Yu Wanwan lay in bed without any movements. Her breathing was soft, as though she was sound asleep. After the bedroom door was opened, the footsteps paused, as though the intruder was inspecting the situation inside the room. On the bed, Yu Wanwan frowned slightly and tried to survey the door in the dark. Using the faint light, Yu Wanwan barely made out a figure that wasn't too tall or built. The figure stood by the door, unmoving and seeming to have become a statue. They silently examined Yu Wanwan's bed. Yu Wanwan also didn't move. She was waiting for Big Dipper and 7-star to lead people there. Under these unknown circumstances, Yu Wanwan didn't act rashly. She didn't know the identity or objective of the intruder, so her safest bet was waiting for reinforcements to arrive. Yu Wanwan's thoughts raced before she came to a decision within moments. Please visit our list novel. Calm. If the intruder really was from the direct line or the group that abducted Ji Shuran, she had to seize the intruder in the shortest amount of time possible after Big Dipper and 7-star got there. As long as they captured this person, Yu Wanwan was confident they could obtain a lot more information from this person. Right now, their position was too disadvantageous, and the main reason behind this was the lack of information. In the current situation, whether it was the Fearless Alliance, Azura, or the Nye family, they didn't have any upper hand. Just who was it that captured a group of extremely famous leaders from the independent state? What was their objective and who was their next target? All of this was unknown. Yu Wanwan didn't feel the slightest tinge of fear as she lay in bed. Instead, she was anticipatory. She hoped this intruder was part of the group that captured Ji Shuran. Only then would she have a chance to gain the upper hand. Before Yu Wanwan could continue her train of thought, the unmoving figure by the door finally started slowly walking forward, and the incredibly light footsteps resounded in the quiet night again. A moment passed, but it also seemed like an entire century elapsed before the figure finally reached Yu Wanwan's bed. The figure carefully leaned over to examine Yu Wanwan's hand. Yu Wanwan and the intruder were very close, and she managed to use the faint light coming from the window to finally distinguish that the figure was a woman. The woman's appearance was somewhat blurry, but Yu Wanwan felt like she'd seen this woman somewhere before. A dozen or so seconds later, the woman bent down and reached for Yi Wanwan's hand. Suddenly, Yi Wanwan's eyes shot open completely as she grabbed the woman's right hand. At the same time, a round of footsteps and shouting could be heard from elsewhere in the mansion. Pa! The light to the master bedroom was turned on. The darkness was dispersed, replaced by light. Sis Feng, are you okay? We're here. Big Dipper hastily called out after turning on the lights. 7 Stars stared at the back of the woman standing by Yi Wanwan's bed, a cold glint flashing through his eyes. It's you. When Yi Wanwan clearly saw the woman by her bed, her expression involuntarily turned surprised and filled with strangeness. Who are you? How dare you sneak into my sis Feng's room? Do you want to die? Big Dipper shouted and darted to the bed. However, he froze in his spot the second he saw the woman's face. Mom? As Big Dipper stared at the woman in front of him, he was rooted to his spot, disbelief brimming from his eyes. Mom? Big Dipper was dumbstruck. Why was the woman who came to assassinate their president his mom? 7 Star was also incredibly astonished. In 7 Star's mind, Big Dipper's mother was merely a normal person and had poor health, so why did she appear in their president's room tonight? Could it be Big Dipper's mother who was the culprit behind the abduction of Emperor Ji and those top leaders of the independent state? However, no matter what, 7 Star couldn't figure out why Big Dipper's mother would do that. Read more new novels on List Novel. Mom, why is it you? What in the world is going on? What deep hatred is there between you and Sis Feng that would make you take advantage of the dark night and try to kill Sis Feng? Big Dipper looked agitated as he stared at his mother. The woman glanced at Big Dipper. Who told you I came here to assassinate President Fearless? Mom, isn't that obvious? As they say, a moonless night is perfect for killing. If you didn't come here to kill Sis Feng, did you come to visit her? If you wanted to visit her, you should have used the front door. Big Dipper hastily retorted. Get out. Big Dipper's mother frowned. I need to talk to your president alone. Mom, you mustn't do anything foolish. It was Sis Feng who paid for all your hospital bills all these years. We can't bite the hand that feeds us. You mustn't attack Sis Feng because Sis Feng will definitely beat you to death. Big Dipper looked incredibly worried. 7 Star, can you please help Auntie take him outside? Big Dipper's mother requested, looking at 7 Star. All of you, leave the room, Yi Wanwan ordered. Only after Yi Wanwan spoke did 7 Star nod and drag Big Dipper out of the room before closing the bedroom door. Yi Wanwan and Big Dipper's mother were the only people left in the room. Auntie, I'm listening. You probably didn't intrude into my room this late at night to do something as simple as chatting with me, right? Yi Wanwan scrutinized Big Dipper's mother. For some reason, she didn't sense any ill intentions coming from Big Dipper's mother. President, before anything else, can you let me see your ring first? Big Dipper's mother asked. Yi Wanwan became cautious. The ring. Another person here for the ring. Yi Wanwan was extremely curious as to what these 2 rings represented and why so many people were interested in these 2 rings, one group after another. Are you talking about this? Yi Wanwan lifted her right arm and lightly swayed the ring on her finger in front of Big Dipper's mother. When Big Dipper's mother saw the ring again, her expression changed several times. She stood in her spot silently, as though this memory evoked some piece of memory in her. A while later, Big Dipper's mother finally spoke again. President, allow me to be bold and ask you where you obtained this ring. Or perhaps, does this ring really belong to you? Yi Wanwan's expression turned odd. Just what was the background of Big Dipper's mother? She did have some recollection of Big Dipper's mother in her recovered memories. After all, Big Dipper frequently mentioned his mother to her. In her memories, Big Dipper's mother was merely a normal person who didn't seem to be connected to any factions in the independent state. As Big Dipper said, his mother had perpetually poor health. From the current look of things though, Big Dipper's mother wasn't as simple as she appeared and might know the meaning behind these 2 rings. Yi Wanwan stared at the woman in front of her. What did the question, "Does this ring belong to you," mean? Before Yuan could respond, the woman suddenly sighed and shook her head. Forget it, whether the ring belongs to you or not isn't something I should ask or concern myself about. Auntie, just who are you? Yuan frowned slightly at the other woman. Big Dipper's mother abruptly knelt down on one knee. This subordinate, one of the 72 Dishas from the Rose of Death and also the Rose of Death's liaison with the world, greets the newly appointed Eric. Yuan was dumbfounded. Who am I? Where am I? What's going on? The Rose of Death's newly appointed Eric? Back in China, Yuan learned from Si Wutian that every Black Widow in the Rose of Death also held the alias Eric. Right now, Big Dipper's mother was calling her the new Eric. Moreover, what sent Yuan into further disbelief was that Big Dipper's mother was actually a member of the Rose of Death and also one of the 72 Dishas. Although she didn't know what the 72 Dishas were, they seemed oddly formidable. If you don't understand what this ring represents, I can tell you, Big Dipper's mother said when she saw the stunned Yuan. Tell me about it. Yuan was helpless. She really didn't understand what this ring represented. All right. Big Dipper's mother nodded. The Rose of Death was established several centuries ago and the first Eric and a son from a great patrician family in the independent state fell in love with each other. However, due to problems with the independent state system, their love encountered great hurdles. In the end, the young master abandoned the first Eric. After that, the first Eric founded the Rose of Death, called herself Black Widow and used the alias Eric. Yuan was astonished. The Rose of Death was unexpectedly established like this. And in the Rose of Death, there's been one core rule since the first Eric, and it's related to this ring on your hand. This ring represents the most supreme power in the Rose of Death, and anyone who obtains this ring has the right to lead the Rose of Death, continued Big Dipper's mother. Yuan found it baffling. Isn't this rule too loose? If the ring is lost or stolen, then, if it was someone strong, how could they lose it or have it stolen? If they're weak, then they don't have the right to become the Rose of Death's Eric, Big Dipper's mother replied. Yuan was at a loss for words. Was that first Eric too overconfident or too careless and willful? Since this ring is in your hands now, you're the Rose of Death's newly appointed Eric, Big Dipper's mother proceeded to explain. Then what if my ring was stolen by someone? Yuan asked furtively. If it was stolen, then you wouldn't be related to the Rose of Death anymore. Whoever has the ring would be the new Eric, Big Dipper's mother replied. Alright, I understand. Yuan didn't know what to say. She gave this ring to Si Yihan back then for safekeeping, but Si Yihan didn't know its origin so he never used it. Then he returned the ring to her some time ago. However, Yuan hadn't recovered the memory that detailed where she obtained this ring. After listening to Big Dipper's mother's explanation, Yuan finally realized why people kept trying to steal this ring. It wasn't this ring's monetary value, it was what it symbolized. If this ring fell into someone else's hands and that person knew the meaning of this ring, then they could become the new Eric and control the entire Rose of Death. Yuan couldn't help but start wondering where in the world she obtained this ring. A long time later, Yuan suddenly started. Could it be, she also stole this ring back then? It couldn't be any more normal for the Fearless Alliance to steal this and that, alright? However, carefully thinking about it, it seemed somewhat impossible. Back then, regardless of how formidable she was, she managed to steal this ring from the previous Eric. That had to be a joke, right? Unless the previous Eric was a weakling of course, but that didn't seem too probable. Auntie, tell me more about the Rose of Death, Yuan requested, turning to Big Dipper's mother. Sure. Big Dipper's mother nodded and started telling her everything about the Rose of Death. Because the first Black Widow wasn't a resident of the independent state, she wasn't approved by the independent state and was even betrayed by the man she loved. He abandoned her in order to preserve his patrician family reputation and his status. In her fit of anger, the first Eric founded the Rose of Death, and the Rose of Death's original intention was to contend against the independent state. However, the independent state at that time was in its golden age, and the Rose of Death was a new faction and didn't have a strong enough foundation, so they couldn't contend with the independent state. Later, the independent state lost its formidable power from its golden age while the Rose of Death grew stronger and stronger. In recent decades, the different generations of Erics all had a horrendous relationship with the independent state, especially the previous Eric. They outright started a war with the independent state. Unfortunately, the previous Eric died tragically in the independent state due to certain reasons, and the ring that symbolized the paramount power in the Rose of Death also disappeared after that. It wasn't until Yuanwan's appearance that this ring saw daylight again. Yuanwan silently rested her chin on her hand and mused over everything. The previous Eric of the Rose of Death actually died in the independent state. Didn't people say the Rose of Death was stronger than the independent state? So why did it end like that? Why did the previous Eric die? Was it because the Rose of Death's strength wasn't enough to contend with the independent state? Yuanwan asked promptly. Big Dipper's mother shook her head. Due to development over dozens of generations, the majority of the Rose of Death had spread to all corners of the world, and summoning its core strength required quite a lot of time. However, the previous Eric didn't use me to summon the Rose of Death's core strength and launched an abrupt war against the independent state in an extremely short amount of time instead. Yuanwan nodded lightly, roughly understanding the problem. The previous Eric seemed to have been blindly arrogant. If they first summoned the Rose of Death's core strength before launching an attack on the independent state, the outcome might have been different. Oh right. Yuanwan hastily took out the other ring and handed it to Big Dipper's mother. Auntie, what does this ring represent to the Rose of Death? Big Dipper's mother accepted the ring and carefully inspected it before shaking her head. Although this ring is similar to the ring of supreme power in the Rose of Death, this subordinate has never seen it. Never seen it? Yuanwan was astonished. She originally thought these two rings were a pair, but this ring was actually completely unrelated to the Rose of Death. That's right, I'm certain this ring you just gave me is definitely unrelated to the Rose of Death. If it was, as the Rose of Death's global liaison, there's no way I wouldn't know, Big Dipper's mother replied with certainty on her face. Yuanwan started doubting her life again. So this second ring was a freaking counterfeit item and she had been hiding it like a treasure this whole time. Of course, being a counterfeit item was merely one of the possibilities. There might be another meaning, but Yuanwan couldn't be certain. Immediately, Yuanwan put away the second ring again. Regardless of whether it was counterfeit or not, there was no harm in keeping it. Since you've appeared with the ring, will you complete the Rose of Death's mission? Big Dipper's mother asked without waiting for Yuanwan to respond. Yes. Of course I'll complete it. Yuanwan nodded without any hesitation. She snatched a big freebie without doing anything and was promoted from President Fearless to Eric from the Rose of Death. Only an idiot wouldn't complete it. Oh right, what's the Rose of Death's mission? Yuanwan suddenly had an ill-foreboding feeling. Don't tell me the Rose of Death's mission is to destroy the independent state. Modify the independent state's laws and avenge the previous Eric, Big Dipper's mother said. Yuanwan wanted to cry. She didn't freaking snatch some big freebie, she clearly picked up a hot potato, alright? Forget about modifying the rules for now. Avenging the previous Eric? What absurd joke was this? The previous Eric was eliminated by a group effort from all the factions in the independent state, so wasn't avenging them the same as destroying the entire independent state? However, right now, Yuanwan had no way to back down since she agreed too freaking eagerly just now. There's no hurry. We've got to have an extremely detailed plan first and give the matter further thought. Let's take it slowly, Yuanwan replied after some thinking. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World. Yuanwan was thinking that since the ring of supreme power in the Rose of Death was in her hands, she could steady them first. After pacifying them, didn't she have the final say about everything in the end? It wasn't that Yuanwan was trying to enjoy her power while avoiding responsibility, but destroying the entire independent state was simply impossible. Was she supposed to destroy the Nye family, Azura, and the fearless alliance as well. Furthermore, currently speaking, she hadn't enjoyed any special power from the Rose of Death yet. Moreover, Yuanwan had a nagging feeling that things weren't as simple as Big Dipper's mother said. There might be some hidden facts, and they had to thoroughly investigate everything first. Upon seeing that Big Dipper's mother wanted to continue this topic, Yuanwan interjected, "Oh right, Auntie. What does Big Dipper's father do?" Big Dipper's mother was startled, and an inscrutable smile curled on her lips. "Big Dipper's father is a resident of the independent state while I am not. You should know the rules of the independent state. Marriage between residents of the independent state and outsiders is prohibited. Perhaps it was because of me that Big Dipper's father was punished by his own family. Since he was sickly since he was young, he didn't survive the punishment. Big Dipper wasn't acknowledged, and I could only raise Big Dipper on my own. Speaking of which, I have to thank you for helping me take care of Big Dipper all these years." Big Dipper was staying with his father at that time and witnessed his father getting punished and dying firsthand. I've let Big Dipper down," Big Dipper's mother continued with a shake of her head. Yuanwan vaguely remembered how Big Dipper kept emphasizing his father ran off with a mistress. Big Dipper was probably well aware of this since he personally witnessed his father being punished to death. It was just that he was unwilling to admit it in the depths of his mind. In reality, people all said Big Dipper was foolish, but Yuanwan disagreed. Big Dipper's childhood experience caused him to completely shield himself so that he could live in his own world. Yuanwan knew the death of his father truly impacted Big Dipper greatly, to the extent that he would rather trap himself in his own world than leave it and face the reality. "Oh right, why did the martial arts union abduct you last time?" Yuanwan asked, looking at the other woman. Big Dipper's mother's expression became slightly confused at that. She herself also didn't know why the martial arts union wanted to capture her. Perhaps they discovered my identity. "After all, I'm a member of the Rose of Death," Big Dipper's mother explained. Yuanwan nodded. That was possible. If the martial arts union hadn't discovered the identity of Big Dipper's mother, it wouldn't make sense. They wouldn't capture a normal person for no reason. Before they could continue, knocking was heard at the door. "Enter," Yuanwan called out. The bedroom door was opened. "Mom, are you okay?" Big Dipper rushed into the room and inspected his mother anxiously. Yuanwan was exasperated. She wasn't a tiger, so it wasn't like she could have eaten his mom. "I'm fine. I just chatted with your president, there's nothing to worry about," Big Dipper's mother replied with a smile. "That's good. But Mom, why did you sneak into Sis Feng's house so late at night?" Big Dipper was bewildered. "It's nothing. I previously invited Auntie here but I just forgot about it." Yuanwan was the one to reply. Big Dipper stared at Yuanwan. "Sis Feng, there's something I don't know whether I should say or not." "Tell me," Yuanwan said. "Sis Feng, are you brushing me off?" Big Dipper asked. "Yes." Yuanwan nodded. Could it be she wasn't obvious enough in brushing him off that he needed to ask? "Oh, it's nothing then. I just wanted to ask." Big Dipper nodded. "Big Dipper, help me take Auntie home first," Yuanwan instructed. "Alright, I'll bring my mom home first and have old Seven take over for now. I'll be back soon." Big Dipper glanced at 7-star. "Watch over Sis Feng carefully. If anything happens, I'll hold you accountable." Then Big Dipper led his mother out of the bedroom without waiting for a response. After Big Dipper left, 7-star and the others also retreated from the room. Yuanwan lay in bed. Tonight felt like a dream. Somehow, she discovered the origin of the ring. Somehow, she became Eric and learned about parts of the Rose of Death's past. She was in great emotional turmoil. She hadn't had time to digest everything yet. What path should I take in the future? In truth, the life she wanted was very simple, being with Ajio and Tang Tang and leading an ordinary and steady life together as a family. That would be perfect. Unfortunately, reality wasn't allowing her. Forget the fact that she was the freaking president of the Fearless Alliance. Now, she also became the freaking top leader of the Rose of Death and had to freaking shoulder so many responsibilities and missions. Did they think she was Superwoman? Didn't they say a person's responsibility increased with their capabilities? Did the heavens have some misunderstanding regarding her capabilities? Yuanwan really considered this ring to be a hot potato. However, regardless of how boiling hot it was, she had to hold on to it and couldn't throw it away. It wasn't that she wanted to possess the supreme power of the Rose of Death. But if she relinquished this ring, what if her successor wanted to complete the mission? If her successor summoned the Rose of Death's main force and attacked the independent state? That image was too unbearable. Hence, no matter what, the ring could only be hers. As long as she didn't agree, the Rose of Death wouldn't act recklessly since she was their new leader. Yuanwan pondered whether she could borrow the Rose of Death's strength to attack the supposed direct line or not. Before she could think any further, her phone's screen lit up. Yuanwan had turned off her phone's sound and vibration earlier, so there was only a display notification. Yuanwan picked up her phone and saw it was nameless Nya calling. You better not be looking for me to strike a business deal this late at night. That was the first thing she said when she picked up the call. Darling sister, I didn't call to talk business with you. Freaking. Nya Linglong is back. Did you know? Nameless Nya sounded emotional from his anger. Nya Linglong is back, Yuanwan furrowed her brows. Nya Linglong's identity was clearly exposed already, yet she still dared to return to the Nya family shamelessly. It had to be said that Nya Linglong's tactics were noteworthy indeed and couldn't be underestimated. Calm down. Tell me slowly, Yuanwan replied. Tell you slowly. Slow your ass. My mercenaries told me about what happened already. That little bitch. No, I have to break her arms and legs. Nameless Nya yelled. You can't, Yuanwan interrupted him immediately. I can't. Why not? Nameless Nya was startled. What right do you have to break her arms and legs? If you claim she's colluding with the direct line, do you have evidence? Yuanwan countered. Why don't I have evidence? My people saw it, and didn't one of your Fearless Alliance elders also see it? Nameless Nya replied. So what? Yuanwan coldly said. Don't forget that Nya Linglong is one of the candidates for the next family head of the Nya family. I'm a competitor and you're a competitor that Nya Linglong knocked out. You and I are real siblings. Do you think those elders and higher-ups of the Nya family would believe groundless words from us? If you act now, the higher-ups would say we're using underhanded tactics to slander Nya Linglong instead. The Nya family didn't belong to one person. For a matter like electing a family head, even if it was Patriarch Nya and Madam Nya, they had to discuss it with the elders and higher-ups and elect one person. Nameless Nya was silent for a long while before replying, Right, sister, you're too correct. Why didn't I think of that? Nya Linglong returned without any fear, so she must be certain we don't have any evidence. If we did anything to her, it would be our problem. The elders and higher-ups have always leaned toward Nya Linglong. Thankfully I called you or else I would have been tricked. That motherfucker. Yuanwan was at a loss for words. Nameless Nya was too impulsive and did things without thinking, so he'd eventually get into deep trouble. What should we do now? Should we find some evidence first? Nameless Nya asked. Don't worry. Since Nya Linglong dared to come back, you definitely won't find any evidence. You mustn't underestimate this sister of ours. Just act as though nothing happened, Yuanwan replied. Act as though nothing happened. Nameless Nya was startled. Ha! Nya Linglong definitely expects you to pull something against her, but if we do the opposite and act as though nothing happened, who knows who will be the one leading the other person by their nose? Yuanwan snorted. Right, your analysis is on the nose. Actually, that's why I called you. So that you wouldn't be led by the nose by her. Nameless Nya said. Yuanwan, freaking, do you have the nerve to be any more shameless? The next morning, Yu Wanwan got a call from Madame Nia urging her to go home because there was something important to discuss. At the Nia residence, Madame Nia and Patriarch Nia sat on the sofa while Nia Linglong docilely and respectfully stood on the side. Mother, father, don't worry. While you aren't home, I'll carefully look after everything. Please visit our list novel. Calm, be sure to watch over your brother carefully. Don't allow him to cause a mess outside, Madame Nia instructed worriedly. Nameless Nia was lying on the second sofa, shaking his leg and playing a game. When he heard that, he immediately raised his head and complained, Mom, can't you think better of me? Madame Nia rolled her eyes at him. You'd first need to have something better for me to think about. Nameless Nia, he seriously thought he should have been the one to test his DNA. He definitely wasn't their biological child. Nia Linglong glanced at a nearby servant, and the servant hastily brought over a pile of big and small exquisitely wrapped and high-end gift boxes. Nia Linglong said, Oh right, Mother, this is some ginseng and swallow's nest I had someone specifically bring back from China, as well as some tonics and supplements. You and Father work so hard, so you must keep your health up. Madame Nia nodded. You're very considerate. Patriarch Nia had a complicated expression as he looked at the docile and sensible Nia Linglong. After the fake worryless was exposed, he thoroughly investigated the entire Nia family but didn't discover any clues or traces. Since he was going to Jin City now, he could investigate it further there. At that moment, spry footsteps could be heard outside the door. Holding a plastic bag, Yu Wanwan entered the house while beaming. Dad, Mom. When Madame Nia heard her daughter's charming voice, the dignified and elegant expression on her face was instantly replaced with joy and affection. She immediately stood up and walked forward. Wanwan, you're back. Madame Nia caught sight of the item in Yu Wanwan's hand and casually asked, What are you holding, Wanwan? Yu Wanwan promptly carefully opened the packages tightly wrapped in foil like she was showing off a treasure and replied, These are fried skewers. I bought them from a super famous food stall in the southern district and had to line up 2 hours to buy them. I was afraid they'd get cold, so I sped back on my way home. It's still hot right now. Try it, Dad, Mom. When Madame Nia heard that, her eyes turned red instantly. Child, why did you go through so much trouble? If you wanted to eat that, we could have made it at home. Yu Wanwan hugged Madame Nia by the arm and cutely said, It's different. I found it tasty when I ate it, so I especially wanted you and Dad to taste it too. Hurry and see if you like it. If it's good, I will buy it again next time. Madame Nia was instantly moved. My baby daughter is so thoughtful. Good, Dad will try it now. Patriarch Nia couldn't be any happier. As though he was faced with some exotic delicacies, he carefully picked up a bamboo skewer of barbecued meat. Nia Linglong watched how Madame and Patriarch Nia surrounded Yu Wanwan's cheap skewers like they were a treasure and glanced at the supplements she bought for them sitting on the side, a chilly feeling leaking from her eyes. Nameless Nia was speechless. Dad, Mom, aren't you too hypocritical? Last time I ate something like this, you chased after me and scolded me for several days, saying I was eating junk food. Now, you're praising this girl into outer space. Did you get amnesia? Madame Nia glared at him. Shut up, what do you know? Stop spouting nonsense. Nameless Nia, I'm spouting nonsense. It's clearly this girl who's spouting nonsense. She had to stand in line to buy something. When the owner saw her, he probably wanted nothing more than to give her the entire store. Yu Wanwan humorously glanced at Nameless Nia, who looked like he ate shit, and provokingly made a face at him before turning to her parents and asking, Dad, Mom, you called me back in such a hurry. Did something happen? Patriarch Nia replied with a gentle expression, Your mother and I have some business in Jin City in 2 days, so we're hoping you can help us manage the Nia family while we're gone. Madame Nia meaningfully said, The Nia family will definitely be passed onto your hands in the future, so consider this as a learning opportunity. When Nia Linglong heard this from behind them, she abruptly raised her head. They had just phonily asked her to look after the Nya family but were now leaving all the power in the hands of that piece of trash, worryless Nya. In the end, regardless of how long she had been with the Nya family, she was nothing but a servant. Yi Wanwan imperceptibly glanced at Nya Linglong and happened to catch a remaining tinge of darkness on the woman's face. She replied with a calm smile, "Dad, Mom, don't worry. I'll take good care of the family." Nya Linglong quickly regained her composure and quickly replied, "Dad, Mom, Sister and I will be home, so there won't be any problems. I will help Sister from the side." Patriarch Nya nodded. "Amen, let's go. The elders are waiting." In the conference room, all the higher-ups and elders from the direct line and collateral branches of the Nya family were sitting in the room. Patriarch Nya cleared his throat before solemnly beginning, "While I'm in Jin City, Worryless will act as the family head. I hope everyone will assist Worryless by working as one and taking good care of the Nya family together." Everyone had differing thoughts about this newly found second miss of the Nya family who also held a position as the president of the Fearless Alliance. However, in front of the patriarch, none of them revealed anything on their faces and all agreed. "Don't worry, patriarch. Us old fossils are still here, so nothing will happen to the Nya family." Patriarch Nya nodded and turned to Yi Wanwan. He gently said, "Wanwan, this is your second great-uncle. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask him." "Second great-uncle?" Yi Wanwan politely greeted him. This elderly man who was about 30 to 40% similar to Grandpa in appearance was Grandpa's real younger brother. While seated, the august, healthy-looking elderly man said, "Back then, eldest brother willfully took you with him, and you've had an uneasy time all these years on the outside. However, it's good you're back. It's also time for you to shoulder this responsibility." The incident regarding the previous patriarch of the Nya family, who was Yi Wanwan's grandfather, leaving the Nya family because he was displeased his daughter got married to the descendant of his sworn enemy from the Ling family, was a taboo topic in the Nya family. Hence, the elderly man merely looked morose and didn't delve too deeply into it, only giving Yi Wanwan a few words of encouragement. "It's good that second miss has safely returned. I believe the Nya family will definitely flourish under the leadership of the second miss," another higher-up piped in. The clan meeting quickly ended. Patriarch Nya finished with all his arrangements and left Yun City with Madame Nya 2 days later, heading to Jin City. After Patriarch Nya and Madame Nya left, Yi Wanwan took advantage of her parents' absence and sent Tang Tang to see Yihan, telling him to take Tang Tang on a trip by themselves for a few days. This was the quickest method to foster a deep relationship. Then Yi Wanwan focused on learning how to manage a clan from her great-uncles and the elders. Thankfully, she had picked up some things from Si Yihan back in China for a long time, so she was familiar with these affairs already and conducted them rather smoothly. As for what to do with Nya Linglong, Yi Wanwan planned to keep thinking of a way to investigate the power backing her. Late at night, in a secret manor located in the city outskirts, an elderly man dressed in black walked out from the hidden room and looked at Nya Linglong darkly, who was sitting on the sofa and playing a game of chess. "How's the progress with the Nya family?" Nya Linglong looked confident. "Everything is within my grasp." The elderly man in black snorted. "I don't think that's completely true, right? The real worryless Nya has returned to the Nya family and is fairly trusted, having even taken up the position as the acting family head." Nya Linglong looked disdainful. "You're overestimating her. She's merely a piece of trash. From what I know, worryless Nya's current martial strength has dropped greatly and she isn't even 30 or 40% of what she used to be." The elderly man in black was taken aback. "Truly? In the independent state, which prohibited firearms and revered martial arts above all, a person's martial strength represented everything. When it came to someone like piece of shit, he could solely be compared to a killing machine who could destroy more than half of their experts. No one dared to provoke such an entity. If worryless Nya's martial strength had truly plunged, then she might not even be qualified to be the head of the Nya family. The independent state revered martial arts above all, and the Nya family from the 4 great clans was even more so. The Nya family was the clan with the strongest martial strength out of all the clans, and the previous patriarch of the Nya family was once the most outstanding martial expert in the independent state. Hence, martial strength was vitally important for the family head. Nya Linglong lightly set down a black piece and took out all the white pieces. The corners of her lips curled up as she said, "Don't worry. The position of the Nya family head will definitely be mine." Since that impostor had died, there didn't need to be so much hassle. She'd obtain that position herself. That better be the case. Several days later, Yuanwan followed a group of clan elders and higher-ups to a Nya property for observation. Nya Linglong was also in the car and fulfilled the role of secretary dutifully and responsibly, diligently reporting business to Yuanwan. She stayed strictly within her boundaries these past few days, making it impossible for Yuanwan to snatch a single piece of useful information. The location was a bit far, so the group drove for a long time before stopping in front of an extensive factory. When they arrived, the chauffeur immediately sprinted out of the car and opened the door for Yuanwan. However, the second Yuanwan exited the car, the chauffeur abruptly attacked Yuanwan like a ghost. The fierce wind from his palm slashed across Yuanwan's neck like a blade, creating a bloody line instantaneously. A little more force and her neck would have been forcefully broken by him. "Who are you?" Yuanwan narrowly dodged his attack, but the man was too fast and launched attack after attack toward her like a tornado, each strike fiercer than the previous. This man's martial arts skills were extremely strong. He absolutely wasn't an ordinary assassin. Damn! Yuanwan narrowly dodged his attack again. "Sister Worryless, be careful. Who are you? How dare you attack a member of our Nya family?" Nya Linglong quickly rushed over and struck the assassin with her hand. Nya Linglong's palm reached perfection in both strength and speed, and she managed to strike the assassin back with a mere hit. PFF. The assassin spat out a mouthful of blood, evidently injured. He hastily turned around and escaped. Yuanwan reflexively looked at Nya Linglong. The other woman managed to repel the assassin with a mere strike of her palm, which meant Nya Linglong's martial arts skills were probably better than she expected. A group of Nya family guards quickly chased after the assassin while the higher-ups and elders from the car behind them also rushed forward. "Who is he? He's rather gutsy to dare to assassinate our second miss. That was simply lawless. We must thoroughly investigate this matter. Miss, are you okay?" The elders and higher-ups spoke one after another. Yuanwan massaged her palm, which had turned numb from fending off that man's attack. "I'm fine." Amidst this sea of indignant voices, a soft voice was suddenly heard. "Second miss, with your strength, that assassin probably shouldn't have even approached you, so how did he?" The person didn't finish the rest of their sentence, but its meaning spoke for itself. Everyone instantly looked at Yuanwan strangely. That was right. Second Miss's martial talent stunned the entire independent state back then. She was the legend of the mercenary world, so how did she lose to an assassin, requiring that assassin to be struck back by Nya Linglong? When faced with those higher-ups and elders' questioning and suspicious gazes, Yuanwan's face darkened. Her martial strength really hadn't recovered completely still. Even though she had been sparing no efforts in her training lately, she only managed to recover 30 to 40% at best. If she was drunk and lost her rationality, she might be able to recover 50 to 60%, but she was still a ways away from her previous strength. When it came to something like martial arts, the closer you were to the top tier, the wider the chasm between each degree of strength. Some people might not be able to cross that chasm their whole lives. Yuanwan's current state was like a formatted max-level main account. She originally passed all the stages already but now had to level up all over again. Although her progress was faster than the average person's, it was still difficult the more she advanced. Something like comprehension couldn't be solely obtained through training. No matter how hard she worked, she still felt very clumsy and her body couldn't coordinate with her mind. This would undoubtedly be fatal in a match with a true expert. "Sister just feels unwell today." Nya Linglong considerately walked over to mediate the situation and turned to Yuanwan with concern. Sister, I'm sorry. It was my fault for allowing assassins to infiltrate and shock you. I will send people to escort you back and rest. When the higher-ups and elders saw their acting family head's weak appearance and how she looked like she needed to go back and rest after the shock of a mere assassination, their expressions turned darker. How could such a weak person hold the post of the head of their Nya family? How could Yuanwan not have realized the truth by now? Today's events were probably arranged meticulously by Nya Linglong beforehand. Nya Linglong finally couldn't hold back anymore. It appeared she was starting to garner support after losing her puppet so she could make a bid to snatch the Nya family herself. Nya Linglong truly didn't have a big probability to win before, but when nameless Nya lost his right of inheritance and Yuanwan's martial strength dropped greatly, the situation became very disadvantageous for them. Aside from their abilities, every head of the Nya family had to meet an especially strict requirement for martial strength. That night, they returned to the Nya residence. Yuanwan immediately called nameless Nya with a chain of calls. Worryless, do you need me for something? Hurry and talk. Do you know that I, your brother, have big jobs worth several $100s every minute? Nameless Nya complained. Several $100s every minute. How great! Yuanwan irritably rolled her eyes. Follow me. What is it? Nameless Nya reluctantly followed her to a deserted courtyard. Yuanwan got straight to the point. Spar with me. Nameless Nya asked, huh? Spar with me. Right now. Nameless Nya's hackles raised. What scheme are you brewing? Do you want me to be beaten to death by Dad and Mom? How could he dare to spar with his parents' precious sweetheart? Yuanwan exasperatedly responded, I just want to test my current martial strength. Hurry, stop quibbling. Oh, okay then. Yuanwan fastidiously ordered, you aren't allowed to go easy on me. Fight with me seriously. Sure, nameless Nya replied. Swish. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World. A second later, the two people attacked at almost the same time. Followed by a bang, Yuanwan flew back. Ah! Shit! Nameless Nya jolted in fright and quickly leaped over, catching Yuanwan before her back hit the wall in fear of her getting injured. Yuanwan darkly steadied herself and angrily roared, Nameless Nya. Are you trying to murder your sister? Nameless Nya was also scared terribly. Say, sister, why are you such a weakling? You're a weakling. Your whole family is filled with weaklings. Sister, don't be unreasonable. If everyone in the Nya family is a weakling, then there aren't any experts in the independent state. Yuanwan ignored him and seriously asked, let me ask you, what percentage of your strength did you use? Nameless Nya seriously thought about it. 1% probably. Yuanwan inhaled deeply. Speak properly. Is it 1% or 1%? I was right. It was 1%. Yuanwan was silent for a long time before asking again, when I was at my peak, how many moves could I take from you? Nameless Nya rubbed his chin. If you were using your status as my younger sister, you could take 2 moves from me. If you weren't using your status as my younger sister, you could only take 1 move from me. Yuanwan. What should she do? She really wanted to beat him to death. Did all of this guy's intelligence get redistributed to his martial strength instead? In the end, Yuanwan gave up on the idea of beating him to death since she couldn't defeat him. Is there any method to make my martial strength recover as soon as possible? Yuanwan asked with a sigh. Nameless Nya mulled over it and scratched his head. That's hard to say. In your situation, you aren't a newbie who can increase your martial strength through training. Your body function and quality are already there, and you're working with top-notch equipment already. Hence, your problem isn't that you have bad equipment, it's that you can't use it or start it, so you're unable to display its ability. Everyone has a different comprehension of martial arts, and only you know your body best. I'm afraid no one else can help you with that. Yuanwan felt a headache pounding. Nia Linglong is probably planning to snatch the position of family head. Can't you work harder? Today, she purposefully sent an assassin to test me and also publicized my plunge in martial strength to all the elders and higher-ups. The situation is very disadvantageous for us. Nameless Nia grumbled, "It's not that I don't work hard, it's that my real dad rejected me with a single vote. He said he was afraid of the Nia family being destroyed in my hands, so he absolutely wouldn't allow me to become the family head." Yi Wanwan responded, "Our dad is pretty wise." It was actually more frightening for someone to solely have martial strength while lacking a brain. What do you mean he's wise? Our dad is clearly muddle-headed. But forget about that for now, you still have to deal with your problem yourself. Public morals are deteriorating with each passing day, so it'd better if you recovered faster or else a problem will eventually pop up, Nameless Nia said, looking at Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan didn't say anything to that. The headmaster also said last time that the rest of her recovery solely relied on her. She was just afraid she wouldn't have enough time. However, sister, I still felt like something is wrong with the Nia family right now. That little bitch, Nia Linglong, isn't related by blood to the Nia family at all, so logically speaking, she isn't qualified to become a candidate for the Nia family head at all. However, there are higher-ups and elders who support her, so I think they might have been bribed, Nameless Nia continued. Is that even a question? Yi Wanwan shot Nameless Nia a look. They were definitely bribed. Nia Linglong had to have offered some immense benefit or some promise to those elders and higher-ups who supported her. Furthermore, the elders and higher-ups were stirring trouble using their father's bloodline. They claimed that father also wasn't a member of the Nia family, but since he became the patriarch of the Nia family, why couldn't Nia Linglong? They had to be commended for thinking of this excuse and reasoning, especially since other people couldn't really refute it. Let's head back and rest. We have to keep our health up and must be vigilant while dad and mom are gone, Yi Wanwan said to Nameless Nia. Right now, the Nia family could only rely on the two of them, and Yi Wanwan could only trust Nameless Nia. Unfortunately, if Nameless Nia was smarter and more shrewd, he would just need to stomp his feet with his martial strength and the entire Nia family would shake. Who would dare to rebel? However, it had to be said that the heavens were fair. You're right, sister. We need to keep our health up. Don't worry, I'm here. I'll protect you. Nameless Nia turned and left. However, to Yi Wanwan's surprise, things developed worse than expected. The next day, news suddenly came from Jin City that Madame Nia and Patriarch Nia encountered an ambush on their way there. Their current whereabouts and fate were unknown. Yi Wanwan immediately dispatched her top elites to Jin City to investigate the matter. However, 3 days passed and there still wasn't any news. They only discovered a bloody handkerchief that belonged to Madame Nia. After learning of this, Yi Wanwan personally visited Jin City but found nothing. Her mother's bloody handkerchief made Yi Wanwan's mind uneasy. But there was nothing they could do at this point. They didn't even know who the culprit was. In the meeting room, the atmosphere was unprecedentedly serious. Based on the current situation, it's extremely possible the Patriarch and Madam have met an unfortunate fate. A clan can't be without a head, so I suggest for us to hurry and elect a new head so that they can preside over the present situation for us. Please visit our list novel. Calm, Old 3, what are you saying? Before the Patriarch left, he appointed Second Miss as the temporary family head already, so she's naturally in charge of everything. As you just said, First Elder, it was temporary. However, how can we hand the Nia family over to a temporarily appointed person in such an urgent time? We should naturally hurry and pick the most suitable candidate, that's the top priority. I agree. That's right, I also agree. Although Second Miss is very capable, you must all know that Second Miss's martial arts strength isn't as it once was. How could she hold the position as the Nia family head at that level? First Elder, don't forget the rule established by the previous Patriarch. Of course I remember, but only Second Miss is the most suitable candidate right now. I don't think so. Regardless of martial talent or capabilities, I think Third Miss is the most suitable candidate. Everyone has seen Third Miss's capabilities for themselves over the years. Utterly ludicrous. Nya Linglong isn't related to the Nya family by blood, so how could she hold the position of family head? First Elder, aren't your words improper? Our current patriarch's previous name wasn't Nya Huili and he was actually a member of the Ling family. Since even the son of the Nya family's archenemy, the Ling family, could become the head of our Nya family, why can't Third Miss become the head? You're simply, First Elder didn't expect the other person to bring this matter up and couldn't conjure anything to refute it. You're right. After Third Miss becomes the family head, she can choose to marry a young and promising youth from our Nya family. She wouldn't violate any rules then. Yi Wanwan calmly watched everyone arguing. After hearing that, what else didn't she understand? Since that elder supported Nya Linglong so staunchly, Nya Linglong probably promised to marry his son after becoming the family head. The matter is urgent, so please start voting now, everyone. Voting? Voting your ass. Dad and Mom just got into an accident, yet you're in such a hurry to elect a family head. What? Are you all hoping for Dad and Mom to die? Nameless Nye ran his eyes over all the higher-ups and elders present. How could you say that? The Nye family has centuries of estates, so we can only prioritize the big picture at this current stage. We're just as sad and grieving that something like this happened to the patriarch and madam, but a dragon can't be headless. We will elect a new family head first so that we can better investigate what happened, a higher-up retorted. Nameless Nye wanted to say something else, but Yi Wanwan sent him a look to tell him to stop speaking. Since these elders and higher-ups dared to act like this, they had to have a contingency plan. The situation today was very disadvantageous for her and Nameless Nye, and electing a family head was a rule. Everyone had to obey the rules regardless of who they were. In the end, aside from First Elder, everyone actually voted for and elected Nya Linglong as the head of the Nye family. Yi Wanwan wasn't surprised in the slightest by this outcome. From all her years of operation, Nya Linglong had deep roots in the Nye family. They also couldn't forget Yi Wanwan's fatal weakness. She, who had no martial strength, was the same as a crippled person in front of Nya Linglong. Damn! Do you want to revolt? Let me see who dared to vote for this little bitch. Nameless Nye, don't make incessant trouble. This isn't a place you can act recklessly. What did you say? Make incessant trouble? Fuck your grandma's leg. I'll slap you to death, idiotic old fart. Nameless Nye shattered the chair next to him into smithereens with a kick and fiercely glared at the elder who spoke. What? You're going to disregard even the Nye family's rules now? A higher-up snorted at Nameless Nye. Rules? What rules? I don't know what rules there are, but anyway, I'll kill whoever dares to elect this little bitch. Nameless Nye behaved as though the situation was already so bad that making it worse would make no real difference. Nameless, watch your mouth. First Elder glanced at Nameless Nye with a frown, a sense of helplessness filling his heart. The old Nameless Nye couldn't be any more steadfast. In terms of strategy, he didn't lose out to Ji Shuran. In terms of abilities, he didn't lose out to Yi Shuehan. However, ever since that incident, he turned into this current state and became a hopeless case. If he was Nameless Nye from back then, the Nye family wouldn't have needed an election at all. Election, is it? Fine, then I'll also enter. I'm the eldest child of the Nye family, so what right do you have to omit me? Nameless Nye chortled. As they say, the eldest son is the boss. I'm the eldest child, so I should be the head of the Nye family. You aren't qualified, an elder expressionlessly refuted. I'm not qualified. Why aren't I qualified? Is your head filled with soy milk? You old geezer. I'm telling you, the first thing I'm gonna do when I become the family head is kill you. If you're uneducated, then don't come out here and humiliate yourself. Don't you remember how the eldest sons of those ancient emperors were all crown princes? The principle is the same here. I'm the eldest son, so I must become the family head, Nameless Nye said. Yi Wanwan, real brother, you're too awe-inspiring. You were vetoed by the patriarch a long time ago, an elder replied. Bullshit. Nia Linglong was also vetoed, but isn't she still running? Don't give me that nonsense. I'm running for the position too, so hurry and vote. Nameless Nia said with irritation. Fine, then we'll vote. Raise your hand if you vote for Nameless Nia, an elder announced with a glance at Nameless Nia. Yi Wanwan immediately raised both hands while First Elder also raised his hand after a brief silence. Nameless Nia, as you can see, you only have 2 votes. You don't pass. This chapter is scrapped from Read Light Novel. Org Yi Wanwan, Nameless Nia. Yi Wanwan was at a loss for words. So what if Nameless Nia ran for family head? No one voted for him. If they did vote, she would have been elected ages ago, and there wouldn't be time for Nameless Nia to fly off the handle. Blah. It's fine if I don't pass. If anything happens to the Nia family, don't call on me. Let our enemies kill your old twits. Nameless Nia snorted and quickly turned to Yi Wanwan. Let's go, sister. Let's go shopping and forget about these idiotic old farts. Yi Wanwan, alright. Yi Wanwan immediately followed Nameless Nia and left. Yi Wanwan actually didn't care about the matter of the Nia family head too much since the only thing that occupied her mind right now was her parents' safety. Even if she didn't have the Nia family, she was still the president of the Fearless Alliance and was also the newly appointed Eric of the Rose of Death. As for Nia Linglong, Yi Wanwan was going to ignore her for now. The top priority right now was uncovering news of her parents. On a snack street, Nameless Nia led Yi Wanwan shopping here and there, occasionally buying some snacks and stuffing them in his mouth or holding them in his hands. Say, brother, have you eaten enough yet? We should prioritize investigating Dad and Mom's whereabouts first, Yi Wanwan said to Nameless Nia. Nameless Nia glanced at her. Nonsense. Of course I know that, but one can't function properly on an empty stomach. I'd starve terribly if I skipped a meal, so I have to eat my fill before I go and investigate. Then hurry and finish eating, Yi Wanwan sighed. Wait here. I'll go to the corner to line up. That place's meat bun is seriously awesome, I'll bring one back for you. After saying that, Nameless Nia dashed off. Watching Nameless Nia's departing figure, Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. It was Dad and Mom's wisest decision to refrain from passing the position of family head to him. Yi Wanwan was about to call Si Yihan and explain the current situation to him when a big group of trained experts appeared and quickly surrounded her. The leader was none other than Nia Linglong. Sister, where are you going? You made me search quite hard for you, Nia Linglong expressionlessly stated. Oh. Did you need to see me for something urgent, sister? Yi Wanwan remained calm and collected. There's nothing urgent, but as you know, sister, I just became the family head of the Nia family and need to establish some achievements. And President Fearless once stole a large quantity of confidential information and rare treasures many years ago, so the higher-ups of the Nia family have decided to punish President Fearless. Have you seen President Fearless perchance, sister? Nia Linglong stared at Yi Wanwan, an icy smile spreading across her mouth. What a coincidence. Yi Wanwan met Nia Linglong's eyes. Your sister, am the President Fearless you're searching for. Nia Linglong nodded. Look at my memory, sister, I forgot about your identity as President Fearless. However, one thing at a time. Sisterhood is sisterhood and business is business. Business your mother. A harsh shout was heard from the back of the group, and before anyone could see how Nameless Nia was moving, he kicked and sent 7 or 8 people flying away. Nameless Nia walked to Yi Wanwan with a meat bun in his mouth. Yi Wanwan, look at the situation, can't you eat later? Nameless Nia, this matter originally had nothing to do with you, but since you're acting disrespectfully toward the head of the Nia family and sheltering President Fearless, you're now accountable for the same crime. Submit yourself to arrest immediately, Nia Linglong coldly said. Nia Linglong, Nameless Nia's bone-chilling gaze landed on Nia Linglong. Have you gotten something wrong? Do you know who I am? I'm rather interested. Tell me, who are you? Nya Linglong snorted. I am Nameless Nya. As Nameless Nya said that, he lightly swung his fist and in a flash, the experts standing next to Nya Linglong flew backward like snipped kites. Yi Wanwan's heart trembled as she looked at Nameless Nya. The current Nameless Nya gave her a completely different feeling. Was this how her eldest brother acted when he was serious? This Nameless Nya in front of her and the Nameless Nya in her memories were like two completely different people. Take him down. Nya Linglong ordered. Countless experts instantly surrounded Nameless Nya. Nameless Nya stood unmoving in his spot, and Yi Wanwan couldn't see how he attacked. Nevertheless, a few breaths later, a dozen or so people had fallen. Nya Linglong's expression was abnormally dark. Thankfully, Nameless Nya was an idiot, or else it would truly be a nightmare. She wanted to see how much longer Nameless Nya could hop around. In a place like the independent state, martial strength was everything. A person had to capture the ringleader first in order to capture all his followers, so after taking care of the small fry, Nameless Nya strode straight toward Nya Linglong. Your life, it's mine, Nameless Nya announced coldly. I don't think so, Nya Linglong aloofly replied. Try me. Nya Linglong's lips turned up into an icy smile, her eyes shining coldly as she met Nameless Nya's eyes. Sure, you can come and try. Nameless Nya remained expressionless. His figure disappeared from his spot like a flash of lightning and he reappeared next to Nya Linglong in a few seconds. He struck with his palms so fast that he stole air from the observers. Even Nya Linglong couldn't help the surprise on her face. However, seconds before Nameless Nya's palm made contact with Nya Linglong, his expression shifted and he staggered a step as he clutched his stomach. Yi Wanwan's expression turned peculiar. Brother? Yi Wanwan questioned softly. Nameless Nya didn't answer. Brother, what's wrong? Detecting something amiss, Yi Wanwan hastily rushed forward, an ominous feeling rising in her heart. Stop. Don't come over here. Nameless Nya glanced at Yi Wanwan. Before Yi Wanwan could respond, PAH. A fountain of blood suddenly sprayed from Nameless Nya's mouth a second later. When the blood splattered onto the ground, it was black. Yi Wanwan stared at the puddle of blood, her expression shifting. You were poisoned. Nameless Nya wiped the blood from his mouth, his brows locked together. Poisoned? When? Yi Wanwan was stunned. You don't even know when you got poisoned? Nameless Nya gritted his teeth and ran his mind over past events. It couldn't be that iced pear juice, right? It shouldn't be. No way, what iced pear juice? Yi Wanwan asked anxiously. On my way back, a miss offered me some iced pear juice for free, so I drank a cup. Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. She couldn't say anything after half a day as she stared at Nameless Nya. What else could she say? He clearly knew about Nya Linglong's wild ambitions but didn't know to take precautions. Just what was inside his head. However, Yi Wanwan had no presence of mind to blame Nameless Nya since her heart was brimming with worry. It didn't require any thought to know this was Nya Linglong's doing. No wonder Nya Linglong dared to come here and eliminate her and Nameless Nya. Watching Nameless Nya's quickly paling face, Yi Wanwan felt her heart burning with anxiety. Just what kind of poison is it? Nya Linglong airily said, it's withered butterfly, a poison that will kill its victim within half an hour without fail. Half an hour, the color drained from Yi Wanwan's face. Within moments of Nya Linglong speaking, more black blood dribbled from the corner of Nameless Nya's mouth, and his figure toppled. Brother! Yi Wanwan caught Nameless Nya at once. It's fine. My body is in good shape, so this little poison is nothing. Leave first, I'll handle it. Nameless Nya said as he looked at Yi Wanwan with meaning. Bullshit. Yi Wanwan held Nameless Nya by his arm. No matter how good his body was, he couldn't fight this kind of lethal poison. Forget about me. I am fine. Nameless Nya frowned deeply at Yi Wanwan. believe in me. Leave first. If we leave, we'll leave together. If we stay, we'll stay together, Yuanwan said without the slightest hesitation, her eyes focused on Nameless Nye. Nameless Nye and her were real siblings, the closest people in this world, so how could she abandon Nameless Nye and leave by herself? Yuanwan couldn't do it even if it meant she would die. Ha, what a good show of deep sibling affections. I was nearly moved by you too, Nye Linglong said with a snort. Yuanwan wasn't in the mood to pay attention to Nye Linglong. She helped Nameless Nye stand up and hastily said, "Brother, let's go. I'll take you to the hospital. You'll definitely be fine. Go." Nye Linglong stared at the duo. "Where are you planning to go now? How about I send you underground so that your deep sibling affections won't be disrupted and you two will have company on your journey to Yellow Springs?" By this time, the pedestrians on the snack street had hidden or ran already, and their surroundings were rather deserted and empty. Some time ago, Yuanwan had sent an SOS message to First Elder without notice, telling them to hurry there. However, the Fearless Alliance wasn't too close to this place, so even if First Elder and the others rushed over, they would need half an hour at least, and Nameless Nye's current condition absolutely didn't allow for such a long wait. This was the first time that Yuanwan could sense how important half an hour was and how long time felt. Nameless Nye probably couldn't last half an hour. He had to be sent to the hospital in the shortest amount of time possible. Yuanwan looked at Nameless Nye. Nameless Nye's face was deathly pale, sweat continued to soak his forehead, and his breathing turned more and more rapid. "Brother, use this time, and leave first. Listen to me just once, go to the hospital. Even if disaster strikes, I'll deal with it." Yuanwan shielded Nameless Nye's body. "I'm sick of watching this display of deep sibling affections." Nye Linglong apathetically waved her hand. Following Nye Linglong's order, several experts swiftly attacked Yuanwan. Each move was incredibly vicious and targeted her fatal points. They were the purest killing moves with no other intention than taking her life. Yuanwan gritted her teeth. No matter what, she had to protect Nameless Nye today even if it was at the cost of her life. However, those people were seriously too fast, so fast that Yuanwan could barely see them clearly. These people were all top-notch experts from the Nye family's assassination squad. Since Nye Linglong had become the head of the Nye family, she naturally had the right to mobilize them. The Nye family's assassination squad only obeyed orders from the family head and ignored everyone else. At this moment, a pair of warm hands were gently set on Yuanwan's left shoulder. Nameless Nye took a step forward. "Who dares to harm a hair on my sister?" Nameless Nye's bone-chilling words were accompanied by the terrifying aura of a wild beast. One of the expert assassins was caught off guard and was fiercely slammed in the face by Nameless Nye's elbow. The next second, the expert assassin flew back like a snipped kite. Kaboom! A giant noise resounded, and that person sank into the stone wall he hit. His body was stuck inside the wall as he stopped breathing on the spot. When the remaining expert assassins saw how Nameless Nye could still explode with such powerful fighting power despite being lethally poisoned, they looked at each other in bewilderment and shock. "Don't be afraid. Nameless Nye is a spent bullet," Nye Linglong shouted coldly. Following Nye Linglong's words, iciness surfaced in the eyes of the remaining expert assassins again. They didn't switch targets and continued to attack Yuanwan, who was behind Nameless Nye. "Come here." One of the expert assassins was about to approach Yuanwan when his hair was snatched by Nameless Nye. Nameless Nye dragged him back and promptly swept that assassin several meters back like a dragon flicking his tail. Nameless Nye's attacks were seriously too heavy, unbelievably heavy. If you were hit by Nameless Nye, you would die without a doubt. In the blink of an eye, 2 expert assassins lost their lives. However, as Nye Linglong said, Nameless Nye was a spent bullet. His breathing turned increasingly rapid and his figure was also swaying, as though he was pushing himself on with an unimaginable amount of willpower. However, the saying, "a starving camel is still bigger than a horse," was eternally, invariably true. Don't waste time. Attack together. Nameless Nya panted heavily, but his formidable aura didn't decrease in the slightest. Brother, Yi Wanwan gritted her teeth as she watched Nameless Nya. Matriarch. Nameless hasn't done anything wrong, after all. Isn't this a little? After several elders from the Nya family rushed over, one of the middle-level higher-ups inquired worriedly. That's true. However, I've given him a chance. He didn't listen, Nya Linglong coldly said. Sheltering President Fearless and killing several experts from our Nya family's assassination squad is a heinous crime. Even if Dad and Mom returned, they wouldn't forgive these two. The middle-level higher-up secretly shook his head when he heard this, helplessness filling his heart. In truth, Madame Nya and Patriarch Nya already discovered something was wrong with Nya Linglong long ago and started secretly investigating her. However, Nya Linglong's power in the Nya family was stable. If they directly acted against Nya Linglong without any evidence, it would evoke turmoil in the Nya family. Now though, Patriarch Nya and Madame Nya were missing, so the Nya family had become Nya Linglong's domain completely. Nya Linglong colluded with the powerful elders and higher-ups from the Nya family, so no one dared to disobey Nya Linglong. Why are you standing around? Kill Nameless Nya first, then slay President Fearless. Nya Linglong commanded coldly. Dozens of people immediately attacked Nameless Nya like an avalanche. Ha 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 ha, Nameless Nya broke into loud laughter. Great, great, great. Come at me. Even though Nameless Nya was lethally poisoned and besieged by dozens of experts and several elders from the Nya family, he didn't have a trace of fear and welcomed the battle with a grin. When Nameless Nya and the dozens of experts fought, they were like two falling meteors that deviated from their original path and violently clashed together. Within seconds, several cuts from weapons appeared on Nameless Nya's body, the blood soaking his upper body, dyeing all of his clothes scarlet. Sister, hurry and leave. Nameless Nya suddenly turned around and angrily shouted at Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan tightly clenched her fists. I can't leave. How could I leave? Nameless Nya panted heavily and abruptly pushed Yi Wanwan toward the exit. Worryless, leave. Quick, listen to brother. Brother, I'm fine. Leave. Nameless Nya's voice turned icy. Panic suddenly rushed into Yi Wanwan's eyes when she saw Nameless Nya's gaze. What does he want to do? A second later, Nameless Nya suddenly started attacking those experts crazily. Yi Wanwan knew he was fighting for a handful of minutes so that she could escape. Nya Linglong icily stood on the side with her arms crossed in front of her chest. With a poison like withered butterfly, the more you move, the faster it spreads. Heh! Brother! As Yi Wanwan tussled with those guards with everything she had, she kept trying to break through the human barrier and take Nameless Nya away. However, Nya Linglong came prepared. All the experts here today were on par with the chauffeur assassin from the other day. Although Yi Wanwan underwent intense training and managed to match her sober strength with her drunk strength, her strength was still too inferior. I'm telling you to leave. Didn't you hear? Nameless Nya angrily shouted, nearly using all of the energy in him while he shattered the top of an assassin's skull with his palm. At this moment, an assassin sneakily attacked Nameless Nya from behind. Nameless Nya's energy was nearly exhausted, so he couldn't dodge in time and was struck on the back and sent flying back, heavily crashing into the wall. Brother! Yi Wanwan instantly sent an expert back with a karate chop and rushed forward, helping Nameless Nya sit up. However, Nameless Nya had closed his eyes and lay there unmoving. Ha! I told him that after ingesting this poison, the more intensely he moved, the faster the poison would spread. He's just dim-witted and wouldn't listen, so he brought it on himself, Nya Linglong said with a snort nearby. Shut your d-damn mouth. Yi Wanwan fiercely glared at Nya Linglong. This glare was bone-chillingly icy, and even Nya Linglong involuntarily felt chilly from head to toe in that instant. That gaze gave her déjà vu. Nameless Nya fainted. Forget about him, kill President Fearless. Nya Linglong ordered. Following Nie Linglong's order, several Nie family elders and expert assassins attacked Yi Wanwan immediately. Brother, Yi Wanwan was sorrowful as she looked at the unconscious nameless Nie. Behind her, a Nie family elder had reached her and swung a fist toward the back of Yi Wanwan's neck. This elder's fist was too fast. The strength of a Nie family elder wasn't something the current Yi Wanwan could contend with. At that moment, something unbelievable happened. Bang! A loud noise rang out and the elder howled in pain as he was sent flying back by a punch from the suddenly standing nameless Nie. Brother? Yi Wanwan was joyous. However, a second later, Yi Wanwan froze in her spot, her hands clutching her mouth and her eyes wet with tears. Nameless Nie's eyes were still tightly shut and unopened. He was still unconscious. A Nie family higher-up looked stunned. He clearly fainted already, but he can still attack. What kind of willpower is this? It's mostly like his final instincts and determination. Even though he's fainted completely, he can still use his last bit of willpower to protect his sister. A middle-level higher-up gnawed on his teeth, deep veneration toward Nameless Nie rising in his heart. Nameless Nie instinctively protected Yi Wanwan behind himself. He still had enough consciousness to differentiate who was his younger sister and who were the people trying to harm his sister. Brother, veins bulged from Yi Wanwan's forehead and her nails dug into her palms, blood dripping onto the ground. Why am I so useless? I don't have unparalleled intelligence, or unbeatable martial strength. What use am I? I can't even protect my own elder brother. I'm a piece of trash. Torrential hatred rushed inside Yi Wanwan's heart. She hated her incompetence. She hated her powerlessness. You're dead. At that moment, Nie Linglong dashed toward her grasping a dagger, her figure extremely fast and incredibly agile. Swish! The coldly glinting dagger was thrust toward the unconscious nameless Nie. PKKKHT. It was the sound of a blade piercing flesh. Drip. Drip. Blood trailed down Yi Wanwan's hand and slowly dripped onto the ground. In the blink of an eye, before Nie Linglong swung her dagger and pierced nameless Nie's chest, Yi Wanwan had acted. She stood guard next to nameless Nie and used her own hand to take Nie Linglong's dagger. The incredibly sharp blade completely penetrated her hand. Yi Wanwan had her head lowered, silent. Heh. I'm really curious. How much longer will you play out your act of deep sibling affections? Nie Linglong asked while smiling with intrigue, looking at Yi Wanwan in amusement. Yi Wanwan slowly raised her head, the breeze sending her hair fluttering up. I want you to die, Yi Wanwan said expressionlessly. You want me to die? Nie Linglong asked with a smile. Can you do it? Oh right, I've changed my mind. I will use this dagger to pierce through your brother's chest in front of you. I want you to personally witness your incapability. Your arrival in this world was the biggest mistake. How tragic. Kneel down and beg me. However, before Nie Linglong could finish speaking, her expression abruptly changed. Yi Wanwan swung her fist. This punch was so fast Nie Linglong couldn't react, as though it had broken human limits and passed some terrifying limit. In front of everyone, Nie Linglong was punched by Yi Wanwan and flew backward like a sheet of paper in a storm. Swish! Before Nie Linglong could land, Yi Wanwan rapidly caught up to Nie Linglong extremely quickly, and she snatched the woman by her hair, dragging her downward mercilessly. Kaboom! Nie Linglong was fiercely slammed onto the ground, sending dust flying in the air. Bam! Another punch landed on Nie Linglong's face before Nie Linglong could react. I want you to die. This was violently fuming rage, this was bone-deep resentful hatred. Nie Linglong's heart couldn't help but tremble when she saw Yi Wanwan's familiar frightening gaze. It was the gaze from all those years ago. The gaze worryless Nie had when she trained her. The gaze that terrified her but also made her harbor resentment. You're dead. Nie Linglong screamed with rage and her hands slapped the ground as she picked up the dagger and stood up, thrusting the dagger toward the spot between Yi Wanwan's brows. Ding! What made Nia Linglong incredulous was that Yuanwan managed to catch her dagger merely using 2 fingers. Nia Linglong, you truly deserve to die. The current Yuanwan seemed to have been pervaded by indignant fury and had transformed into a demon that crawled out of the depths of hell. After Yuanwan said that, her fingertips exerted an unimaginable strength. The dagger caught by her snapped with a crisp sound. Yuanwan kept her fingers on the broken-off end of the dagger and she swung her right arm, ruthlessly slashing across Nia Linglong's neck as though she wanted to cut it in half. However, Nia Linglong reacted extremely fast and retreated back at once. Although Nia Linglong managed to dodge Yuanwan's fatal blow, a long bloody laceration still drew across her face, which was shocking to the eye. Attack! The Nia family elders shouted immediately. The next second, dozen or so people attacked Yuanwan. You all deserve to die. Faced with the dozen or so attackers, Yuanwan didn't retreat and attacked instead, using the broken dagger between her fingers as her weapon. Within moments, her attackers were left dead or injured, and no one dared to approach Yuanwan anymore. How is that possible? An elder was astonished as he stared at Yuanwan. She recovered her peak martial strength? But wait, even during Worryless Nia's peak period, she wasn't this frightening. So did she surpass her previous self, or perhaps, the old her was holding back? Let's attack together. Kill her. Nia Linglong commanded coldly. Before the other Nia family members could respond, a bone-chilling voice was heard, a voice that sounded like it came from the depths of the night and sent shivers down people's backs. Do you want to attack together? Hundreds of people slowly walked around the corner, and the leading man seemed to be one with the night, a terrifyingly menacing aura tinged with never-seen-before murderousness infiltrating the air around him. Next to him was First Elder from the Fearless Alliance leading several elders, a dozen or so Hall Masters, Big Dipper, 7-Star, and other members. When Yuanwan saw the man, her bloodthirsty and merciless eyes finally eased a little. Lord Azura. The Nia family elders were shocked by Lord Azura's appearance. How was he so fast? Yes, they had miscalculated. Their original plan involved nameless Nia getting poisoned and them taking care of him in the shortest amount of time possible. Since Worryless Nia wasn't worth a mention, they would kill both of them, and the Nia family would have nothing to fear when Lord Azura arrived on their doorstep. However, who would have expected nameless Nia to be a monster? He was lethally poisoned but could still display such explosively powerful fighting strength. Even after he fainted, he could still use his incomprehensible willpower to protect his sister. After they took care of nameless Nia with much difficulty, Worryless Nia regained her peak strength and managed to drag things out until Lord Azura arrived. The man walked toward Yuanwan and took off his jacket, draping it over Yuanwan. His icy eyes turned to Yuanwan's injured hand. He gently picked up Yuanwan's hand. Does it hurt? Almost automatically, Yuanwan shook her head. Hurry. Take my brother to the hospital. Yuanwan, who woke up with a start, shouted in a rush. They're taking him there, Si Yihan replied. Yuanwan turned around and saw that nameless Nia was taken away already. Si Yihan also turned around and examined Nia Linglong and the other members of the Nia family. Kill them all, he ordered coldly. Following his placid words, the members of Azura surrounded them all like a web. Regardless of who you were, you couldn't escape. Wait. Yuanwan looked at the man. I caused this years ago, let me handle this now, alright? The hatred in her heart couldn't be pacified. All that dominated her mind was how nameless Nia exhausted everything he had to fight for her chance of survival. She was his sister, so she had to be the one to avenge him. If it wasn't for her bringing Nia Linglong back to the Nia family, how would they have warmed a snake in their bosom? She raised this vicious snake herself. Hence, even if they were to reach a conclusion, she should do it personally. Cause and effect, she planted the cause, so she had to knot it as well. Si Yihan looked at Yuanwan and gently combed her long hair. Okay. He nodded in the end and looked at the Azura members. A second later, the Azura members moved back slightly, yielding a path. Yuan slowly traversed through the emptied path, her eyes intently looking at Nia Linglong. Her earlier hatred had turned into abnormal apathy. You? Nia Linglong asked coldly as she wiped away the blood from the wound caused by Yuan's dagger. Swish. As Nia Linglong said that, she saw Yuan's right arm rise and the broken dagger in Yuan's fingers flew out fast as lightning. A second later, Nia Linglong's right cheek was slashed by the arrow-like dagger, blood gushing out again. Nia Linglong. I once adopted you into the Nia family because I found you pitiful. However, you weren't grateful at all and harbored the ambition of wild wolves, delusionally wanting to outstrip me, Yuan calmly stated as she looked at Nia Linglong. Adopted, Nia Linglong suddenly sneered. Who do you think you are? What have you done for the Nia family? All these years, those two old geezers worried about you endlessly, but how do you deserve it? You're nothing but a piece of trash, and I am fated to stand at the peak. You all will be stomped beneath my feet. Is that so? Yuan's eyes shone coldly, and her figure disappeared from her spot as she spoke and appearing in front of Nia Linglong. I want you dead. Nia Linglong harshly shouted, also swiftly darting toward Yuan. Yuan remained in her spot and aloofly glanced at Nia Linglong. I am worryless Nia, and you will always be the Nia Linglong who I charitably pitied, adopted into the Nia family, and bestowed a name upon. From this moment onward, I revoke the name Nia Linglong. You aren't worthy of being called Nia Linglong. After saying that, Yuan attacked with her elbow and ruthlessly struck the approaching Nia Linglong in the abdomen. Bam! A loud noise sounded as Nia Linglong was knocked to the ground. Nameless Nia's move, Nia Linglong stood up again and wiped the blood from her mouth. Using the move my brother once taught me to end your life is your honor, Yuan said expressionlessly. Yuan sent a kick toward Nia Linglong's abdomen as she spoke. You're too slow. Nia Linglong sneered and slightly tilted her body. However, Yuan's kick abruptly changed in the middle of the path and ferociously slammed into Nia Linglong's chin using an extremely tricky angle. Another loud noise sounded as Nia Linglong was knocked to the ground again. Still slow? Yuan asked as she looked at Nia Linglong. Back then. You taught me everything. Impossible. I've already surpassed the teacher long ago. There's no way you're my match. Nia Linglong yelled. Yuan's lips turned up. When a tiger teaches a dog how to hunt, a dog is always a dog no matter how well it learns, but a tiger is always a tiger. You held back then. Nia Linglong fumed with rage between gritted teeth. Worryless Nia didn't teach her everything. Yuan moved the second Nia Linglong finished speaking. Yuan smacked her palm toward Nia Linglong, and Nia Linglong immediately went on the defense, using her arms to block her body. However, Yuan accelerated and instantly looped behind Nia Linglong, snatching her by her hair. Finally, one more thing to teach you. Remember to pull your hair back when you're fighting. After saying that, Yuan pushed her arms forward and Nia Linglong lost her balance, crashing onto the ground. How much evil covers these hands of yours? Yuan's eyes shone coldly as she stepped onto Nia Linglong's arms. The sound of bones cracking was heard and Nia Linglong was drenched in sweat, but she didn't make a single sound. Worryless Nia. Ha! You're the true demon from head to tail. The blood on my hands is all thanks to you. It was you who taught me how to kill. What right do you have to ride above me? In terms of strategy and intelligence, how could you compare to me at all? You should be the adopted one. Sweat soaked Nia Linglong's forehead, but a sneer remained on her face. I taught you because I wanted you to have the ability to protect yourself in the future, not to allow you to harm the Nia family and commit crimes, Yuan replied expressionlessly. Back then, Yuan taught Nia Linglong exactly as Grandpa taught her. Her original intention was love, but how a person comprehended it relied solely on them. Worryless Nia, everyone from the Nia family deserves to die. How many good days do you have left? Nia Linglong fiercely glared at Yuanwan. Oh right, I nearly forgot until you mentioned it. You can't die yet. Yuanwan picked Nia Linglong up and tossed her to the nearby Lin Quebec. Say. Why did you throw her to me? I'm not interested in her. Lin Ke hastily protested as he looked at Nia Linglong by his feet. Take her back and rigorously interrogate her. You must discover everything she knows, regardless of the method you have to use, Yuanwan said. Jiang Yan, that's your specialty. I'll leave it to you. Lin Ke turned to Jiang Yan next to him. Understood. Jiang Yan nodded and picked up Nia Linglong, about to leave by himself. Take more people back with you, Yuanwan instructed with a frown. This woman is already in this state, do you think she could still threaten me? Jiang Yan might have been indignant inside but he was still courteous on the surface. What if someone abducted her? Yuanwan asked. Jiang Yan had no choice but to take half of the Azura group back with him. Yuanwan turned to the higher-ups and elders from the Nia family who were present and coldly asked, Am I qualified to become the head of the Nia family now? The Nia family higher-ups looked at each other. Yes. Worryless, actually, we were also deceived by Nia Linglong earlier. Who would have expected her to have the ambitions of a wolf? Thank goodness you exposed her true face in time or else the consequences would have been inconceivable, a higher-up hastily said. That's right. We were also deceived. Yuanwan's lips curled up mockingly. Unfortunately, she couldn't displace these elders and higher-ups right now. She had to coordinate with second great-uncle and completely disintegrate their power in the Nia family first before she could punish them. Otherwise, if she harmed them now, the Nia family would definitely fracture and collapse. That wasn't something Yuanwan wanted to see. I know you were also deceived, but, after all, you've committed a wrong, so you should be punished, Yuanwan said. Yes. Please punish us, matriarch. We'll comply with everything you say. All the higher-ups nodded frantically. However, Yuanwan wasn't in the mood to waste her words with these people right now. She'd definitely settle this account with them later, and what awaited them was nothing but a frightening fate. Ajio. Which hospital is my brother in? Let's go there. Quick, Yuanwan turned to look at Si Yihan. Si Yihan nodded and ordered Lin Ke, escort all the elders from the Nia family back to the Nia residence first. Understood, ninth brother. Lin Ke nodded and turned to the Nia family higher-ups. Everyone, please. They called it escorting, but in truth, Azura was restricting them. The members of the Nia family looked at each other, the higher-ups frowning involuntarily. They were higher-ups from the Nia family, but Lord Azura wanted to imprison them? What outrageous joke was this? Master, this is Nia family's business and Lord Azura is an outsider, after all, so I don't think it'd be proper for him to interfere with our Nia family's family business, right? A Nia family elder asked, looking at Yuanwan. Yuanwan glanced at the elder who spoke. What's between Lord Azura and I is considered family business while what's between you and I can only be considered official business. Understood. The Nia family higher-ups were rendered speechless. After saying that, Yuanwan quickly rushed toward the hospital with Si Yihan. Yuanwan was burning with anxiety, immensely worried about Nameless Nia's injuries and poison. In truth, with Nameless Nia's body constitution, his injuries should be considered superficial wounds, but the poison he was inflicted with could steal a person's life. Yuanwan didn't dare to think deeply about what would happen if something bad befell Nameless Nia. Faced with Yuanwan's incredibly anxious expression, Si Yihan merely kept her company silently. Regarding this situation, he wasn't clairvoyant and couldn't raise someone from the dead, so they could only listen to the doctor when it came to Nameless Nia's condition and let fate take Nameless Nia wherever it would take him. Yuanwan stared at the hospital ahead a long time later and turned to Si Yihan. He responded. Ajio, is this hospital good? Yuanwan was brimming with worry. This is the best hospital in the independent state, Si Yihan softly comforted her. I already told the best doctor in Azura to stay by your brother's side and keep a constant watch over him. Thank you. Yi Wanwan nodded. Even so, Yi Wanwan was still fretting with worry and felt a trace of fear toward the hospital up ahead. She had no idea what kind of news awaited her there. A moment later, Yi Wanwan followed Si Yihan inside the hospital and directly headed to the intensive care unit. You're Miss Worryless from the Nya family. Outside a room, a group of doctors were discussing something and immediately received Yi Wanwan when they saw her. Whether it was the Nya family or the Fearless Alliance, their fame in the independent state didn't need to be mentioned. There wasn't anyone who didn't know them. Their fame exploded especially after President Fearless recovered her identity as a daughter of the Nya family. Doctor, how's my brother? Yi Wanwan hastily asked the doctors. Well, a doctor shook his head at Yi Wanwan and sighed. Miss Worryless. Your brother ingested a lethal poison. Although we conducted emergency care immediately and pumped his stomach. The time he was sent here was still a little too late. Following the doctor's words, Yi Wanwan's complexion turned ashy instantly, and she staggered back slightly but was caught by Si Yihan. How can that? Doctor, are you mistaken? My brother's body constitution is very strong. Yi Wanwan looked panicked, her speech turning incoherent. Miss Worryless, your brother's body constitution is very strong indeed, but he was poisoned by a lethal poison that spreads via blood, so it's useless regardless of how strong a person's constitution is unless there is an antidote. The doctor was helpless. Although he said that, a lethal poison like withered butterfly didn't have an antidote. Miss Worryless, we're very sorry. We really tried our best.